From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up Warchant. Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Aslan's here, Corey's here. It's Wake Up Warchant time. Follow us on the Twitter machine, Wake Up Warchant. Follow Corey with an E_Clark. Just follow Wake Up Warchant. You can probably find my handle on there. I don't feel like telling you mine because it just makes me depressed. Also, what am I going to ask else from you today, kind people? Let me also ask you to go on to warchant.com and leave your questions for us for the Renegade Express. We're actually going to cheat a little bit today, Corey. I'm going to dive in and pull a question out, and we're going to let it go today. That way, we don't end up spending 2.5 hours doing one on Thursday.
That's a great idea, buddy. That is a great idea. I don't mind breaking it up at all, to be honest with you, because those marathon sessions, they just don't work for the old dog. The old dog likes to do other things besides just talk to you for 2.5 hours. And our fine listeners. I mean, again, I love entertaining the masses. But still, after a while, I have to feel like people are like, all right, man, I can't listen to Corey Clark talk anymore.
Nah, hardly. By the way, in my travels the other day, yesterday that is, bumped into a guy who said he listens to the show, actually loves you. I mean, was just like, so is Corey really, is he really that, sort of self-deprecating in real life too? I'm like, yeah, man, it's just, he's the dude, man. That's just who he is.
Did he really ask that?
Yeah, he's like, I'll be honest. He's like, I've just started kind of listening to you guys. Like, I know him from, what's the other one on Tuesdays? I'm like, Seminole Headlines. He's like, yeah, that one. I'm like, oh, it's all good, man. That's how I got to know him as well.
Yeah, so what do you say when people ask you, hey, man, what's Corey really like?
I'd say that Corey's every bit as like funny and cool in real life as you think he is listening to the show. I'm a big fan,
Probably better
man.
looking than people assume.
Listen, I had a good thing going in Dothan, Alabama, brother. Gene sold me on this by saying that he brought you on board and I was going to possibly host the radio show with you.
That's all it took.
It's all it took.
Really,
man.
I mean, obviously there's some other things that had to be worked out. But just the opportunity to work with Corey Clark was enough to pull you from Dothan, Alabama.
I'll be honest, man. I've always listened to headlines. You don't get to talk enough. And I'm like, I'm going to give him a vehicle to share all of his wisdom and his anecdotes and his quips. And I'm just going to sit back and just ride the coattails. And here we are.
And look at you now, buddy. Look at you now.
13, 15,000 folks nowadays listening to the show. Man, can't stop, won't stop. And it's a January, and we're a football show. We don't even have anything football to talk about today, but we'll figure out a way to squeeze it in there.
When you total it up, you're talking about over 1 million listeners. Well, probably many of the same listeners, but I'm going to assume that they're all different.
Yep.
Over 1 million listens in a year. That's cool stuff, man. It's crazy, actually. Not crazy. I mean, I'm glad you guys listen. It makes sense because we're awesome. But just what a time to be alive, right? This couldn't have happened 10, 12, 18 years ago. You couldn't have gotten to know me as a person because you got to listen to me talk for 45 minutes a day. Aslan, too. We'd have just been nameless. Well, we wouldn't have been nameless, but faceless, voiceless, personalityless, writers that, have their own agendas. Now you get to hear us as we are. So you're welcome.
What I wonder is, Knoll Nation is coast to coast, sea to shining sea, millions, maybe at least 1 million. How come I only have like 3,500 followers on Twitter and you have like 50,000? Like,
I don't have 50,000, but you got a head start, man. Why does Ira have more followers than me?
Well, my thing is,
me and Ira started at the exact same time. We were in a training session at the Democrat. The young woman who's now a kind of a bigwig at USA Today. She worked at the Democrat. She was 23 at the time, maybe, and she was training us old fogies on what Twitter was and why we needed to use it. And we literally signed up on the very first day. And he has like 3,000 or 4,000 more followers than I do. I can't put my finger on that because he's boring.
He's more newsy.
I'm the life of the party, man. I'm a great Twitter follow.
But
whatever.
He's more newsy, so he probably got more retweets from like Bruce Feldman and the other news types, and that's given him the edge, I think.
That's probably true. Good point. Good. That's what I'm going to say anyway.
Yeah, but my thing is just so like, I mean, I guess obviously I'm blinded by it. Do these people just not have Twitter, or do they not follow us? Like, if you're a Florida State fan, like, why are you not following Warchant? Use the promo code Warchant30. Then we got like 70,000, maybe close to 80,000. There's a million of you out there,
man. Like the next 100 followers, the person that's the 100th, your next 100, you like your 100th follower, and then your 200th follower from here until it happens, they get like a signed 8x10 or something.
All right.
Something like that. Just a signed 8. But do you have one? You have to have one.
Oh, I got glossies. I got a stack of glossies here,
please,
brother.
come on. But people, just follow Aslan. So I just want to see what that looks like. We're never going to hear the song he wrote for the girl in high school. Apparently, that's lost to the world.
It is.
But we can still see an 8x10 glossy.
Yeah.
Please.
It could be a pick-me-up for a fan.
They need them these days.
Yeah.
Basketball, too, now. Yeah. Basketball team's in the tank now.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to segue to right there. 75-62 Pitt. I don't want to say lowly Pitt because they're getting a little bit better, but Pitt takes down Florida State, second straight loss for the Noles. Crazy enough, I thought they actually came out and started the game off fairly well, all things considered. Short turnaround, road game, heartbreaking loss, 48 hours prior. Was fairly encouraged by how they hung tough in the opening stages of the ball game, but then, I mean, good grief. I mean, when you can't hit shots, you can't win basketball games. It's the way it works. So they finished, 2 of 22, and the second three-pointer they hit was when the game was already well and good and over. I don't think that's who Florida State is. I'm not ready to sell my Florida State stock, but that was very that one hurt, man. That almost hurt more than the Duke game.
Yeah, I think, and I said as much in yesterday's show. I was going to be surprised if they won that game. I thought it was going to be because their defense was completely they just weren't into it. And I guess you could say maybe that's the truth. When you foul a team that many times, and Leonard said after the game, he's like, look, I don't have any problem with the way the refs were right. We weren't moving our feet. We were using our hands. We weren't using our body. We were basically saying they were they weren't staying in front of people, and they were being kind of lazy on defense. And when you reach, you're going to get a lot of fouls. Now, look, Cabangeli's third foul, he blocked that guy clean at the rim. That was a big call. And then his fifth foul, he's just standing there, literally stood there to say, all right, you can go around me if you want. I'm going to stand there and put my hands up and not move, and he still got called for a block. They were calling everything, which is fine. The one kid had 30 points, and he made 5 shots from the floor. He was 18 of 19 from the free throw line. Like flipping James Harden. But, yeah, man, you can't shoot. You can't win. You just can't. And they have to figure out something. I'm still as high on this team as I was after the Duke game. Maybe not after the Florida game. After the Florida game, I'm like, oh, boy, this team's going to be a juggernaut.
Yeah.
But, they've been up and down really all season. And a lot of that has to do with the guard play. Again, I don't want to kill the kid, but MJ Walker's he's been a net negative for Florida State. He's just been really bad. And you can't have when he's on the court, you're playing 4-on-5. And that shouldn't be the case with your 5-star McDonald's All-American. He should be a guy that can take over games, and he has. In fact, I was thinking about it. Last year he had one huge game at Virginia Tech. I think he scored like 23, 25 points, kind of won them the game. If they don't win that game, they don't even make it to the tournament. So he's one of the big reasons they even got into the tournament last year. And then he comes out, and I looked it up. The first 4 ACC games, he is 3 of 22 from the floor and 1 of 14 from 3, and he made his first one against Virginia. So he's missed 13 straight 3-pointers. I mean, you're a 2-guard in the ACC, man, and you're on the court to shoot. I mean, he's not like a Trent Forrest. He's supposed to be able to shoot. They got to get him going. Or this isn't the team we thought they were going to be. I knew Angola was going to be a loss, but I thought with the improved MJ Walker would be better, and he would more than replace the production of Brian Angola, and that just hasn't been the case. The guy is in a tailspin. He's got 4 or 5 days off now to kind of figure things out and hopefully right the ship, because they got to have that dude. He's got to become a player. He's got to become a factor. He's doing nothing for them right now.
I don't want to keep picking on Trent because he's a leader, and he's I guess one of the lone bright spots in an otherwise poor outing for the Noles. But I mean, like we're missing layups and
Well, that play more than anything. I think I know your one you're talking about. It was a breakaway, right?
yeah, it was like a 2-on-1.
It was a 1-on-none. And normally Trent Forrest in that situation goes up and hammers it. But he kind of like slowed down to try to get the guy on his back, I think to try to get an and one. But he just doesn't have the lift. He doesn't have the explosion that he normally has because of his injury. And, they get 4 days off now. They got to get him right. They're not as good a team if Trent Forrest is at 60%. Trent Forrest isn't going to beat you with his jump shot. He beats you by attacking, getting to the basket, and finishing with both hands and finishing at the rim. He's their best player when he's healthy. When he's like this, even though he scored 19 points and had 9 rebounds, it was nice. It's a nice effort for him. But he was 4 of 13 from the floor. He's usually getting a lot of and ones and finishing at the rim. He drew some fouls, but he wasn't finishing real well. He's just, again, I think they've hit a rut. You've got one of your guards can't make it, couldn't throw it in the ocean if he was on a cruise ship. You got another. See, most people just say a boat. I went with a cruise ship. It happened to be because I was watching a Norwegian Cruise Lines commercial as I was talking.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, look at this. They got go-karts?
Yeah, look at that.
Have you ever been on a cruise?
Yeah, but not Norwegian. I went on the fun ship, Carnival.
Do they have like what do they have other than a casino that's for adults?
They've got like a dance club, nightclub thing.
Oh, say no more. As long as I can dance. That's what I'm looking for. So anyway, when you look at the starting five, you got one guy that's hurt, who's your best player. He's hobbled, and the other guy has no confidence at all and can't make anything. And in the ACC, if you're not at your best, man, you can lose to anyone, literally. And Pitt's not just anyone. I think Pitt's a pretty good club, man. They start 3 freshmen. They're good. Those 3 freshmen anyway are good. And you saw that they're not a bad team at all. I think, if Florida State had played them later in the season, maybe not 2 days after the worst loss of those guys' careers, and maybe when they're a little healthier, it's probably a different story. But also, if you're going to shoot 2 of 22 from 3, it doesn't matter. They missed 18 in a row. 18 in a row. That's,
like James Harden.
You don't deserve to win.
All right, well, hey, let's do this. I saw this question posted on the Renegade Express mailbag, so it deals with basketball, and we're kind of on a basketball kick right now. We'll talk about football here in a minute, I promise. If you're impatient, look at the podcast description. I'll put the time code in, letting you know when we commence a football conversation.
Hey, buddy, I don't think you need to do that stuff. I mean, now you need to because you said you would. But, these are Florida State fans, buddy.
I did it yesterday as well, too.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, people come
It's
for
not
it.
like we're talking about baseball. I get that that's kind of a niche sport. By the way, they're going to be good again. Surprise, surprise. But, basketball is something people care about.
Yeah, but I think people just want 3 or 4 minutes of it and they want to move on.
I think you don't know what anything about what anybody wants.
You're right, and I'm going to segue to that in a second. But first off, let's get the basketball stuff over with. This comes from SPF 10C. I guess he's obviously a bottle of sunblock.
I was going to say, I can't even imagine what that stands for.
He tells us, "Wake
okay,
up!
Good.
This is my first Renegade Express post. Love the show. I'm Sean, Florida State class of 14 from Louisville, Kentucky. Most famous person from my hometown is Muhammad Ali. Maybe also Jennifer Lawrence now." Yeah.
Yeah, those are 2 really good ones. And those are both true for the people that think everybody just makes them up. I still can't believe we fell for John Travolta's from, where did they say it was from, Ocala?
Actually, the guy who said that is Rookie Baby, I think. I want to say it's Conway T 4811. He finishes his Renegade Express post with, also, I'm the guy that said John Travolta lived in Ocala. In my post that you guys referred to, I said people who are from or who live in Ocala. Just wanted to clear the air on that one. So our apologies to Conway.
All right, well, there we go. Yeah, so I trust these people, man. And I don't know, that's a pretty good 1-2 combination. That might be the leader in the clubhouse.
That's strong.
Muhammad Ali and Jennifer Lawrence. Good grief.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm a huge basketball fan. Growing up in Kentucky, you don't have a choice. As an FSU student, I never missed a home game. Weird, I know. My question is, has Florida State basketball hit its ceiling under Coach Ham? We have had some incredible moments under him, like winning an ACC championship, some big-time wins, and that Elite Eight run. But can FSU basketball ever be more? Is it possible? What would it take?
Well, I would say this. I mean, the ceiling, look, they were...
Ceiling is the roof.
Yeah, as the great Michael Jordan once said, they were, 2 possessions away? Like maybe 1 or 2 made 1 3-pointer away from getting to the Final Four last year. And if they got to the Final Four, they would have played Loyola Chicago. I can't imagine they lose that game. Yeah. So then you're talking about them being literally like a possession, like 30 or 45 seconds away from being in the national championship game. That's how close they were. And they have won an ACC championship. And whenever that was, 2011, they were 4 seconds away from getting the Elite Eight that year before they lost to VCU in overtime. Yeah. So I think this is a round. I don't know that it can ever get better than this as far as like consistently contending for national championships. But I would say last year's team, I mean, they were right there with a chance to get to the Final Four. I think what Florida State has to what would help them a lot. And look, they've been to the tournament 6 times in 10 years. They got some work to do, plenty of work to do this year, but if they play like they should and they can get healthy, it would be 7 times in 11 years. As long as you get in the tournament, you give yourself a chance. Like last year's team wasn't Leonard's best team, but they won. They got hot at the right time. They upset Xavier. They upset Gonzaga, and there you go. They're right there in the thick of almost getting to the Final Four. That's the ceiling to me. You might get lucky and win one. Yeah, I mean, it does happen. UConn won 2 national titles where they had like 1 NBA player on the team. You get hot at the right time. You got to give yourself a chance, though, and I think that's what they've done well here lately is they've given themselves a chance. And they do have another good class coming in, and they might have a chance at the number 1 player in the country or number 2 player in the country, this freak show from Atlanta. And if he comes, then, who knows? This team, it's all about you got to get in, and then it's all about matchups, and you got to make shots. But they're good enough to get to the Final Four. They're also inconsistent enough to not even make the tournament. That's kind of the rub there, but that's the deal. I think they're good enough certainly to get in the tournament and be a relatively high seed, but I think their ceiling is probably this, but that implies that they can't win an extra 1 or 2 or 3 more games and somehow win a championship. I do think that they have a lot of that is just matchups and playing well when it matters.
3 things. First off, it's Gonzaga.
It's Gonzaga?
Zag.
Yeah, you're right, because they say Zags. Zag. Whatever. I call them the Zogs.
Yeah. Second, it's just basketball. This is what always makes me it's not my wheelhouse subject, because like you said, it's about matchups and making shots. I mean, I guess you can distill baseball down to that, but I feel like I can't distill football down to that, or maybe I can just fake it and talk more about football so I feel more comfortable about it. And then thirdly, so this is the one question I really kind of want to get in there on you. Is this it, though? Is this probably going to be Leonard's best shot? I mean, he's 70 years old. I mean, I know they're in the running, obviously, with the Anthony Edwards kid from Atlanta. If he comes next year, that's a huge pull. I mean, him and Cabin-Gelly, MJ Walker. If he gets himself right, Trent Forrest, that's a pretty nice little sort of core or what have you. But it feels like, I don't know, I mean, that's a tough ask to get that kid to come here. But it feels like if he doesn't get it done, whatever you want to put as done, I mean, this is his best shot at doing something really, truly special, it feels like, getting to a Final Four.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I thought 2 years ago, the Bacon, Isaac, XRM team, I even wrote about it afterwards. Like, well, there you go. This was their best team in Leonard history, and they got waxed by 25 points in the second round to a team without its starting point guard, thinking, okay, that was his shot. And then the next year they go to the Elite Eight. I even think that team was a tournament team when the season started. And then they get to the Elite Eight. So, this year, I mean, look, you're looking at how many NBA guys are on that team? Right now, I would say Cabin-Gelly has the best shot, but he ain't surefire. So, they got a kid coming in from Charlotte that is really good. He's like a top 30 player. And then if you get this other kid, I mean, holy moly, you've got the makings, because then next year you've also got Forrest, you've got Cabin-Gelly, You've got MJ Walker if he can ever find himself again. Vassell, whatever we want to call him. They have some pieces that are going to be back next year too. Raekwon Gray, I think, is going to be a really nice player.
Oh yeah.
So no,
Malik Osborne too. Malik Osborne will be eligible.
No, they're set up, man. I'm genuinely curious as to how long Leonard would want to do it, but I think right now he's set up for a nice little run here, especially if Kabengele comes back, which I don't think he's on enough radars to like go early. I think one more year starting, playing 32 minutes, he could be an all ACC type player. But yeah, man, I think that I think the ceiling, I guess just the question there implies that the ceiling is there's more room to go. And I don't know that, last year's team was so close to getting to a Final Four and realistically getting to a national championship game. I mean, that's where that's a high ceiling. So that's all. I feel bad for the poster though. The question, what was his name? SRP 972?
SPF.
Yeah, Tennessee. SPF, because he said he graduated in 2014 and he went to all those games then, and that was I guess he saw a couple good teams, maybe when he was a freshman. Yeah, I guess he saw the ACC championship team, but those last 2 years he was on campus. Ooh, those were some rough teams. The Bojanowski, Monte Brandon years.
All right, segue to this. I almost want to give out an award for this. I really want to make fun of the people that I think do a terrible job of contributing to our community on warchant.com and the Tribal Council. Use the promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access. No obligation. Sign up, see how you like it. You can leave after 30 days. Probably won't want to, but you can if you're weird. But that's not good business for me to make fun of people that pay my salary, so I'm not going to do that. But this guy wins. The thread is titled, Corey, SIAP, which is sorry if already posted, not directly FSU related. So this guy, BC_Knoll fan, says, hey guys, South Carolina has a new recording studio donated by Darius Rucker. Any of you folks think this is going to help their recruiting? I think it's stupid, actually, but I'm curious what you guys think. Okay, so just a general question. It's January. We still don't know who the offensive line coach is going to be. Is it going to be Randy Clements? Is it going to be Greg Fry? I want to get to that in a minute after I'm done with this, but we don't know these things. So he's just trying to create some conversation. And then this guy wins Warchant for the month. Dero316.
You're going to give out his name?
Yeah, I got to give him props.
Right.
He won the internet.
Okay.
So he responds to the post again. Darius Rucker has donated a recording studio to South Carolina. Is that going to help their recruiting?
To the football field house? To the standalone facility? Or just to the university?
I don't know. They probably just to the university, to their school of music or whatever.
It would actually be kind of badass if it was in the football mansion.
Yeah.
And every kid could just go lay down tracks. That would be kind of cool. I mean, anyway, go ahead. I think that could tilt the tables a little bit.
So this guy, Dero316, writes out a post in all italics, which is kind of what you do on the internet when you're quoting somebody or you're pulling some copy from another story. So he writes this all as if it's an actual write-up. He says, my visit was an 11 out of 10, to be honest, said five-star athlete Tad Fassman. Coach Boom showed me how I'd fit in with the team, and my parents got to check out the campus. But the best part was singing Wagon Wheel with Hootie in the new studio. It definitely moved them to the top of my list. Fassman, who was previously committed to Clemson, then FSU, then Georgia, says he's ending his recruitment, quote, for sure this time.
I mean, that's funny.
And only 5 people liked it. What is wrong with you people?
Yeah, that's really funny. I thought it was going to be like somebody was being an ass to the guy that asked the question, but that's actually really funny.
That's clever. I mean, can you imagine some kid being like, yeah, man, got to sing Wagon Wheel with Hootie.
Kids loved Hootie today too, man. The 18-year-old kids, they love Crack Rear View. They love that whole. By the way, were you old enough to be in the Hootie mania?
Yes. Yeah, man. Only Want to Be With You, man. The video with Chris Berman and SportsCenter and ESPN. I loved it, man. I loved it.
Yeah, Hold My Hand and Let Her Cry. Oh, good times, man. Good old Hootie. That's really – but, man, you're telling me, say that T-Pain is like, you know what? I'm going to put a studio inside the football mansion. Willie's friends with Kodak Black, right?
I think Kodak Black's a Florida fan. I think I've seen photos of him in Florida gear as well, too. So I don't know. I think maybe that Plies guy, it might be Willie's dude.
That's
Plies.
right. And if Florida State actually gets really good again, it'll be Drake.
Right.
So somebody donates a recording studio, like a sound studio with a full-time engineer, maybe two. So they're there 20. You got one that's working. You got them. I guess you'd have to have three. So they're there 24 hours a day. And anytime one of the players wants to go in and lay down a beat, he's got some rhymes he wants to work out, he wants to try an album, they're there and they help him. They help him with the mixing. They help him with the beats. They maybe get him some samples, and then they can come up with their own songs. You'd have the number one class every year.
There was a kid from Tampa, like Leon McCray the third. He was a really good defensive player from Tampa, and he ended up committing to Southern Cal because he wanted to be a rapper or be a music producer. And he went there because it's L.A. and they've got all these great music connections.
Snoop
and
Dogg,
music
right?
And all that,
maybe a connection with Snoop Dogg.
Maybe.
And Florida State's got do they have anybody famous musically? Creed?
Stop it with Creed.
I mean, they're from Tallahassee, right? Or they met in Tallahassee. Jim Morrison went to Florida State, but he probably is not going to donate a studio anytime soon. Either way, I know we've gone off the rails, but I'm really fascinated by that idea. If it is actually in the football facility, or if it's just on campus somewhere.
Yeah,
because that's a game changer.
Yeah. All right, what I wanted to discuss, the whole situation with the coaching hires, as the recording of this show has not been made official in terms of who's coming and who's going, who's leaving, and all that kind of good stuff. We assume
it won't be made official till August.
Yeah, just under using common sense and things of that nature, it's highly, highly unlikely that Kendall Browse is the only change that's going to be made to this team. They have one job left to fill, obviously, with Alonzo Hampton being gone. So. Greg Fry, I don't know if he'll be the odd man out if Randy Clements does eventually come to Florida State. But I had this thought. I saw this the other day. Remember that kid we interviewed at ACC kickoff from Louisville, Corey? Jonathan Grenard?
Mm-hmm.
I called him Greenard or Grenard or something. I messed it up or whatever. He corrected me. So he's transferring to Florida.
Right.
Obviously, Todd Grantham's the defensive coordinator there. He was at Louisville 2 years ago, so there's got some familiarity.
And the whole coaching staff got fired, right?
What's that?
Louisville's whole coaching staff got fired.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, golly, 2-10.
Well, no, but I'm saying so that's like another good reason for him to leave if he wanted to leave. He's not like, the guys that recruited him and signed him aren't there anymore.
Yeah.
So, I like that kid. He was good to talk to.
He was really good to talk to. I think he got hurt in the middle of the year, so that kind of took some wind out of his sails. But I mean, obviously, this is not going to hold up as well now because I'm trying to do some research on the fly here. But my thing though is Florida brought in I think two guys that actually ended up playing a pretty decent amount of snaps for them defensively last year. I know one of them was a kid that was from West Virginia. I think his name was Adam Schuler. 40 tackles or so, played in every single game they were in. I don't know if he's a defensive end or what his role was, but he had about 40 total tackles. Because Florida had lost so much talent, year after year to the draft, at least on defense, because, for McElwain's foibles, he still had Jeff Collins there being defensive coordinator, and he was always recruiting high-level talent. They've gone ahead and brought another kid in that probably has some pretty decent potential to at least kind of be a stopgap for them with the kid that we just mentioned from Louisville transferring in there. And we've mentioned it in passing on this show, and I don't know if this has anything to do with whether or not Greg Fry's here or has anything to do with them going after a guy like Clements, because that's more of a Kendall Browse sort of thing. I still just never really understand how Florida State went through spring football, knew they were going to lose Josh Ball at the end of it, and they never brought anybody in. I know the early recruiting thing came in for the first time last year, so some of the JUCO guys that usually linger on maybe weren't on the table as much. But it's just crazy in hindsight when you realize how shorthanded they were on the offensive line, where a guy like Arthur Williams changes positions, a guy like Brady Scott, who's your center, ends up playing tackle. This is total conjecture, obviously. Did nobody got on a table and was like, we can't go into this year like this. We got to get 2 guys. Just get 2 guys who are over 6'3" and are over 300 pounds just cuz, which I know is never a good reason to do things just cuz. But that'll just, I always wonder that. It's one of those I always wonder. How do they not go and dive in and try to bring in anybody? Grad transfers are always weird because, listen, if you're in your 5th year and you can't play and you don't have a good sort of situation where you're at, what's the likelihood you're going to have a better one elsewhere? But that just grinds my gears sometimes when I think about it, Corey. I'm just out here trying to talk about football, everybody, so get off my back.
It was a disappointing season, and dare I say the offensive line was not good in 2018. So I can understand the frustration. I wanted to ask you, though, what'd you think about my man declaring? I guess we can end on this. It's already been way too long. What'd you think about my man declaring for the NFL draft? Heisman kid. What?
Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray. God bless. What'd you think about that?
It sounds like it's a negotiating ploy.
Oh, does it? I haven't read up on it. I just saw it on the bottom line that he had declared.
Yeah.
I knew there was talk that he was going to.
I think I saw somewhere that I think he wants $15 million from the A's to not play in the NFL. So I think this is sort of, trying to call their bluff.
Good luck with that.
I'm declaring I'll go to the combine. I'll do all this sort of stuff unless I get what I want. I'd be crazy. I mean, they've been talking about it here for the last week and a half or so. Nobody has ever been drafted in the first round in both the MLB and NFL draft. If he were to go in the first round, he would obviously be the first one. I think Bo Jackson got drafted in the second round of the baseball draft. I don't know, man. I don't think anybody will take him with a first-round pick just because it's so uncertain. But I don't know. I mean, I guess if he commits and says, I'm not going to play baseball, I will I'll play in the NFL. And the NFL team knows that there's no way a baseball team, the A's, can't come in the 11th hour and offer him a boatload of money to come to camp or come to spring training. Maybe they'll pull the trigger just because everyone's going to look at, Baker Mayfield and, they're going to think that he's the next thing and go after him. But I'd love to see him play football, but I'm not getting my hopes up. I think he's going to go play baseball. And if this was Brady, you tell him to go play baseball, right? You tell him, hey, knock it off.
No,
go to spring training.
I think that's the misconception that people talk about when they talk about this particular case or just baseball in general. Look, man, if there's no guarantee he ever plays a inning in the major leagues. It's hard to get to the major leagues.
That's true.
And my man batted like 311 in the Big 12. He was an overdraft, and I think the A's drafted him thinking that he'll be an easy sign. For some reason, they let him go play football, and I guess that was worked out before they drafted him. Like, hey, if we draft you 9th, will you and we let you play football for 1 year? Whatever the case may be, they let him do that, and that wasn't smart. But man, if you're only batting 312 in the Big 12, there's no guarantee you're ever going to be seeing major league pitching. But if you play football, well, you're in the show. Like you're an NFL player. You've reached the highest level. And I think that to me has always been the one hang up here is this isn't a surefire, can't miss Acuna type prospect. Most people thought he was a second round pick. The A's for some reason drafted him that high. That doesn't mean he's not good. Obviously he can run and he has a great arm. And he has some power, but he's not a surefire NBA or a surefire MLB player. He's just not. So that to me is the biggest thing is like, okay, he could say no to football and say, I'm going to go play baseball and then just be irrelevant for the rest of his life for $7 million, which again is nothing to sneeze at, but he could get that in the NFL too. And I just think he's a special football player, man. I don't know if it'll translate at the next level. I know his size is a concern. I also know the guy that quarterbacks the Saints isn't very tall either, and he seems to be okay. Not that I'm comparing Kyler Murray to Drew Brees and that he would be that kind of player, but he's a thrower. He's a good passer. I want to see how it translates to the NFL. And again, I'm telling you, Oklahoma played in the Tallahassee Regional, and he was supposed to be a pretty big time prospect when they came in. And I don't remember him doing anything that really stood out. And I know that's just 2 or 3 games. It's not that big a deal. But I also don't remember his numbers just like overwhelming you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if that was Brady, I'd be like, well, I know there's more risk playing in quarterback in the NFL. But I would like to see my kid play his sport at the highest level. And if you're an NFL quarterback, a starting NFL quarterback, you'll make the chances of you making more money in Major League Baseball is really low, because you have to go be a starter in the major leagues for a good long while before you make that kind of money, and that's just really hard to do. Right now, he commits to NFL, he's on a roster, and he's playing in the NFL at least for a few years. There's no guarantee he ever gets and sees a Major League Diamond. That's my thought.
No, that's a really good point, man. I don't know, I should almost, I kind of want to look up, what Jameis's contract was, because Jameis is going to get paid this year because it's the last year of his rookie contract and it's backloaded. But I don't know. Let me see here, because the first 3 years he might not even make $1 million a year, even if he gets. I mean, Jameis was drafted first overall. Let me see here.
So
yeah,
here,
man,
you want me to read? While you do that, let me.
No, I found it. I mean, his signing
Okay.
bonus was like $4 million, so he got like 4.5 the first year with his signing bonus as base salary. But his base salary this past season was $580,000, but he's going to make $20 million next year.
Well, right, but how much is Jameis Winston made on? And he was the number one pick. Kyler Murray's not going to be the number one pick,
Right.
but he could be a first round pick.
Correct.
So what is? Hold on, you talk real quick.
Okay.
Go.
Yeah, I'm just saying, looking at this, Jameis's contract was 4 years, $25 million. He's going to make nearly $21 million of it in 2019. So Kyler Murray can sign a really good contract, but if he doesn't make it to that last year of his rookie contract or get re-upped, he's not going to even make $7 million, which is what the A's are offering him right now. But it's a lonely, fairly miserable existence being a minor league baseball player. But you'd figure if he's ninth overall, like, he's not going to start in Advanced A rookie ball in Billings, Montana. But then again, I don't know where Double A for the Oakland A's is. He might end up in Stockton, which isn't the best place out there.
It is a lonely existence, and there's a lot of pressure that now he would get when you're one of those bonus babies. They give you all the chances in the world to succeed. And even if you don't really earn it, you could get promoted and blah, blah, blah. But I compare it, like, I just looked up, Lamar Jackson was like the last pick of the first round last year, right?
Right.
So he's guaranteed of making $7.5 million in the NFL. That's if he never plays past his contract. He is still guaranteed of making $7.5 million. Now, Kyler Murray thinks he's awesome at football. He thinks he's going to be great in the NFL, and he thinks his second contract is going to be a monster. But and he just won the Heisman. So here's his numbers from baseball this past year. He hit 296. This is in the Big 12 with 10 home runs and 47 RBIs, 13 doubles, 10 stolen bases, 56 strikeouts. The year before, in 49 at-bats, he hit 122 with no home runs. So he's had 238 at-bats in college, and he has 10 home runs, 26 total extra base hits, hitting around 260. That's not a guarantee, is I guess all I'm saying. It's not his best sport. And if he's as good at football as he thinks he is, he's going to end up making more money in the long term than he would just being an okay major leaguer. But again, I guess I can't hold his, I guess he could get a lot better at baseball, especially if he did it full time. That's always a possibility. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, I think that's always interesting. Obviously, I care about it a lot because Brady will be in this situation in about 10 years.
Yep.
And I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row to figure out how we're going to handle it. The problem with Brady, quite honestly, is basketball's in play too.
Oh, okay.
And they make a ton of money in basketball.
Oh, man. Gosh.
So
please,
and they can play, even if you're like the seventh man, you're making $100 million in your life or $120 million. So, we got some things we got to work out, obviously, but I got time, thankfully.
Just let me just have a son who somehow comes out at 6'7" and can just stay on somebody's hip pocket and has like a decent shot. Just that's all I'm asking for.
Sure. Or a woman. The only problem, and the problem right now with female sports, as I'll call them that, is they don't get paid a lot. So as much as I would love a daughter and have a daughter to be awesome at sports, it's kind of sad that they don't have the prospect of making a ton of money like men. I know it's a capitalist society and people pay to watch the men, but that's kind of a bummer that like Maya Moore, who's probably the best athlete I ever saw play high school sports ever, will make a 1/20th of what Jameis Winston will make. Not even Jameis Winston, what Terrence Brooks will make.
Yeah.
But anyway, I didn't mean to get us off course, but either way, I do hope you have a son that's 6'7".
Yeah. There's something
Hey, he
else
could be a quarterback too, or at the end.
Think about if you're Texas A&M. You had him. You had Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
That sucks.
And Baker Mayfield came from where? Texas Tech, right?
Yeah. Yeah, from Austin.
Man.
If you think
Oklahoma's
about
getting lucky with the transfer quarterbacks, I'd say Oklahoma hit a little bit better on their transfer quarterbacks than Florida State did.
Just a little bit.
Everett Golson.
Just a little bit. Hold on. I want to look at this thing real quick before we go. It has nothing to do with Florida State, so if you want to go and start working, everybody, go ahead and start working.
No. Guys, hang with it. It's going to pay off.
It probably won't. Just think about okay, here we go. Think of this. If you're a Texas fan, like the Longhorns, UT, Burnt Orange, Bevo. Think about what has happened to you ever since you lost Vince Young. Like you had Colt McCoy, who was a very good college quarterback, but you've lost out on Andrew Luck. You've lost out on Johnny Manziel. You lost out on Robert Griffin III. You lost out on Baker Mayfield. You lost out on Kyler Murray. I think there's another quarterback or two that I'm forgetting right now. But like, imagine if the state of Florida hasn't had anything like that.
Matt Stafford, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford, yeah, if you want to, yeah, you can throw Matt Stafford in there.
I'm not sure when he started at Georgia. I think 2006 was his first year, so that would have been after Vince Young.
Yeah. Crazy. Like, you're the flagship. How does that happen? That's why Mac Brown's not there anymore.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And, some people could look at, obviously you wouldn't argue what Jimbo did with quarterbacks, but he could have used Lamar Jackson probably.
Yeah. Oh,
gosh. That would have been a good one to keep in state, especially because I think he could have gotten him. I would have told that dude anything to get him on campus. Instead, you recruited J.J. Cosentino. Just saying.
You told John Franklin III he could play quarterback. You couldn't tell Lamar Jackson could play quarterback?
Oh, 100%. We will give you – he let John Franklin have a chance at quarterback.
That's what I said.
Like, John Franklin got to take reps. If you're going to allow that guy to take reps, you can't find a spot for Lamar Jackson to say, yeah, man, sure. You can take sure. All right, we'll see. And then 2016, you would have had Lamar Jackson and Dalvin Cook in the backfield together.
Oh, God. Did you hear me say and bring up John Franklin III?
I said it. What do you mean? What?
I said it, and then you repeated it like you didn't hear me because you clearly.
Oh no, I did not hear you. I'm sorry, I did not. Maybe I heard you subliminally, and it worked into my brain, but I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
All right, we got in some football, and we made it Florida State related at the end. Tune in tomorrow on YouTube, folks. On Wednesday, we're gonna have a video chat. Myself and Michael Langston, mainly Michael Langston. I'm just there to moderate it, if you will. 8 p.m. It'll be on YouTube. Get all your recruiting news, and maybe there'll be a new coach or two named by then. Corey, we'll reconvene at a later date. I'm not sure when, but hold your breath, everybody. We'll talk to you later.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.